What happens to good people when they allow themselves to be disarmed by a handful of tyrants and a gaggle of weak but power-hungry political activists? Well, they become subjects and are then told what to do. So when other countries took guns away from their citizens, they not only took away their self-defense, but they also took away their self-esteem and pride, because tyrants know that if they can weaken a man, they can dominate him. This may be why the Democrats in America have implemented the toxic male campaign and have celebrated the weak, emasculated beta male in society. They not only normalized something that would have been laughed at just a few decades ago, but marketed it in such a way that it made it appear to be popular. The shaming of masculinity in America has been very clear by the political left, and unfortunately, some of the weaker among us have fallen for it. Now, the truth is, real men do need guns if they want to protect the ones they love from danger and the country they love from tyranny. What is the best way to keep citizens from rising up against tyrannical government? Well, keep them in fear, keep them weak, and keep them unarmed and helpless. Gun laws in America are not about saving lives, as the political left would like you to believe. Gun laws in America are for the purpose of Democrats disarming their political opposition. Weak men are controlled men, and a disarmed citizenry becomes subjects of the state. So our founding fathers knew that there would be people who would try to put America back under the control of a monarchy. That's why they wrote the Second Amendment. For more Second Amendment content, check out my Good Gun, Bad Guy book series at goodgunbadguy.com. And we're going to talk about this and many other things with, he's not controversial, he just says things others disagree with, Jon Chaira. The hatred and rage on the political left are a result of left-wing propaganda and brainwashing. Don't believe me? Look at the tactics Hitler used on the Nazis that pushed them to the point of deciding that the best thing was to eradicate Jews from the world. But those ideas and beliefs don't just happen. Left-wing media sets the table by creating the idea that their political opposition is evil. They know that if they push the idea that Republicans and conservatives are oppressors, white supremacists, racist, threats to democracy, and fascists, some people will start to believe it and act on it. Now, many on the left believe a person should die if they've been convinced that the person's beliefs are a threat. But the right, because we still allow God in our hearts and in our lives, we see humanity with compassion, understanding that even though we may disagree, we still believe their life is valuable. So how is it that someone like Charlie Kirk can engage in political discourse and often disagree with people, but still have compassion for his opponent, while others can laugh and celebrate his death? Well, the difference might lie in the way we view those who we believe to be our opponents, whether racial, political, religious, or even competitive opposition. Is it possible that some people have been conditioned to lose compassion for others? In other words, I may not like you, but I would protect you if it came down to it. While some, like many on the left, want harm to come to you because the beliefs they have about you might not be aligned with what they believe. So because the way they have been lied to and misled, they're willing to watch you die. And vengeance and your suffering makes some of them feel good. The difference may be in our moral checks and balances, the part of the brain that reminds us to have compassion or empathy for others. But ironically, it seems the only people they have compassion for are the killers and criminals. Now, they've lost something that's critical to living in a civilized society, which is why many are calling for them to be removed from society, not only because they have a mental illness and should be getting help, but also because they've become dangerous to everyone around them. Now, many on the left, those who cheer the death of a good man, may have lost part of their soul. And this is not limited to those who speak their hatred publicly. It includes those who believe it quietly as well. They lost the ability to value humanity. Now, this isn't a movie where you cheer when the bad guy dies. This is real life, but some can't seem to make that distinction. So is this a result of brainwashing? Have they cultivated a dysfunctional belief structure within them? Or have they been consumed by evil? Well, we're not sure yet, but it's clear that it's not safe. And if they live among us, many have decided to denounce the radical left for watching their heartless comments and after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Many have finally said enough is enough and will not share space with them. Does this mean liberals and leftists will start to be shut out of society? Will they become pariahs? Do we resort to all-out aggression towards each other, or is there a way the hatred in the hearts of the political left can be changed without subjecting them to vengeance or completely shutting them out of American society? Well, the irony is they're becoming even more angry at those who are now calling them out, when they should be angry at those who indoctrinated them in the first place with hatred and now are abandoning them. People like Nancy Pelosi, AOC, Rachel Maddow, Chuck Schumer. So just like the hatred was built, the same strategies and tactics could be used to put the radical leftists back together and help them find their humanity once again. In other words, undo the brainwashing that's been done to them. This will only happen if the source of the brainwashing changes course and fixes the people they've taken advantage of in their fight for political dominance. So it's time to call out the media outlets and political leaders on the left who have cultivated this heinous behavior and hatred in their supporters. In the meantime, and for the safety of all good people, what can we do to keep ourselves safe from the evil that runs through the hearts of the radical left? Well, exercising our Second Amendment rights and making sure we and our families are always well protected. That's a good start. Just like our founding fathers encouraged the creation of militias to preserve American freedom and our values, the political left has created an evil militia of radicalized anti-Americans for the purpose of destroying those values. Our founders had the insight to know that these people would come along one day. And, well, they're here. All right, let's be clear. The Second Amendment doesn't say the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed unless the government says otherwise. It doesn't carve out exceptions for background checks, waiting periods, or fees. The right to keep and bear arms is exactly that. It's a right. It's not a privilege. It's not a maybe. It's not a we'll see. Yet here we are, so conditioned to government overreach that we jump through hoops just to exercise something that was never the government's to regulate in the first place. So we've allowed politicians and bureaucrats, many who have never even held a gun, to place a chokehold on our Second Amendment rights. From red flag laws to magazine capacity restrictions, gun-free zones, and mandatory background checks, the list of infringements just keeps growing. And somehow we've accepted this. We've let them turn a God-given right into a permission slip. Isn't government overreach and slimy bureaucrats the reason the Second Amendment was written in the first place? Now they regulate it? Take Hawaii, for instance. There's a state who says we recognize the Second Amendment, we just don't allow it in our state. They say the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed except for every privately owned public space in the state. Well, the Second Amendment wasn't written for deer hunters. Our founding fathers drafted it to ensure that we, the people, had the means to keep tyrannical government in check. That's right, to override the government if necessary. So how is it that today we let the very institution the Second Amendment was meant to restrain decide how much of it we're allowed to keep? It doesn't happen all at once. It was one small restriction after another. A background check here, a magazine capacity restriction there, common sense gun laws, they told us. And we gun owners, patriots, citizens, too often just sort of went along with it. Now we're living in a culture where these infringements have become normal, or at least expected. Now that's the real danger. We're no longer throwing the tyrants in jail. We're debating with them about how much of our rights we have to give up. Imagine James Madison walking into a modern gun shop. He watches an American citizen fill out forms, hand over ID, and wait for government approval to buy a firearm. What do you think he'd say? Well, he'd be embarrassed that we squandered such an important component of our freedom. In some states, like New York, we even need permission to buy ammunition. We obediently wait days or even months to find out if we're allowed to take home a firearm. In too many cases, that delay becomes a death sentence. The media, the political left, Even some on the right have pushed a narrative that runs completely counter to the intent of our founders. They've rewritten the cultural script to convince us that begging for permission is normal. But let's be honest. Every time we walk into a gun shop and let a camera record us as we register our purchase with the government, we're participating in the slow dismantling of our rights. A right is not a privilege. It's inherent, God-given. It's not something handed out by government. It's something the government is supposed to protect. But we've allowed